Hey guys, I'm back. Tonight I'm here with my mom, and I just kind of wanted to use this as an excuse to, first of all, introduce her because she's never been in one of my videos, but two, I've been really wanting to kind of share parent perspective of having a child with a disability, and since she was in town tonight, I thought I'd give her a chance to use the platform to share experience. So, do you want to just start out by telling them kind of your thoughts? Kind of tell the story of when you found out, or even maybe before that.
Okay, well, back in the middle 80s, we were just starting to learn about spina bifida, but I guess my first exposure to spina bifida was I was in the dentist office and I was due to have Lindsay just about any time, and I was reading this magazine article. I believe this title was something like, My baby was born with a hole in her spine. And I didn't get to finish reading the article at the time, and I was just really intrigued by this story. And it was about a baby with spina bifida, and I'd never heard of spina bifida before. And as I was reading it, I was thinking, there's no way I could handle a child with a disability like that. I just didn't think that I could manage it. And it was, it was a scary thought. I had no idea anything about this other than what I read. Since I didn't get to finish the article, as soon as I left the dentist office, I went straight to the grocery store and bought the magazine just because I wanted to finish the story. About a week later, Lindsay was born after 36 hours of labor, and it wasn't easy. I tried to do I don't know if I've ever even told you about this, trying to do natural childbirth and all the breathing and the huffing and puffing, and that was just for the birds. I finally gave in and had to have an epidural, and I worked at the hospital, and it seemed like everybody on the staff was in the room when she was delivered, but the room just got quiet. And I didn't know what was going on, and it was just silence, and they took you out of the room. And the OB/GYN, he was from Chicago originally, and apparently spina bifida wasn't as common there even as it was in the South, I guess, because he didn't seem to know what was wrong. And our family doctor came in with tears in his eyes and said, your baby was born with a birth defect called spina bifida, and he said, if she lives, she'll be partially paralyzed and confined to a wheelchair. And
You were 20?
I was 21, 22. Well, let's see. I had just turned 22. No, I hadn't turned 22. You were
about to be 22.
Yeah, about to be 22. And also, and I don't know if I've ever even told you about this, that, and this may be TMI here, but sometimes when a baby is in distress in the womb, it will have a bowel movement, which can be ingested, and a type of pneumonia will set up.
I think I remember.
And it's called meconium stained baby, I believe is the name of it. So that was another worry, that if that didn't kill you, that you were going to have all kinds of problems.
Didn't they think that I had jaundice?
Well, you did end up having jaundice too, a little bit. That's like the least of the worries back, at the time, So they didn't life flight you to Vanderbilt, but they had an ambulance, a Vanderbilt ambulance that came and got you. And so they, took you straight to Vanderbilt. I was in the hospital there for like a day and a half recovering from surgery. They went ahead and closed your spine, I think, that night after you were born. And then I got up there, a couple of day and a half later, as soon as they would let me
So you didn't even get to hold me, right? Or did
No,
you?
I didn't. All I had was a picture of you, a little Polaroid,
Wow.
And when you were born, your right leg was up against your chest, and your foot was turned, like the top of your foot was against your shin, basically. And both of your hips were dislocated then. They ended up making a little brace for your knee and your foot to kind of try to bring things back, because you just must have been in that position for so long
for people that don't know, braces are designed to help correct when, a child's or an adult even, foot is turned a certain way and it needs to be turned to a certain position. So just for people that aren't familiar with the purpose of that. But
yeah. So one of the difficult beginnings there, after I got to the hospital, you were in what was called a step down unit. So I could go in and stay with you, but I couldn't sleep with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was having to, you're trying to recover from having a baby carrying a donut cushion around. Everything's uncomfortable, and I won't go into any more of the gory details, but having to sleep in the waiting room with a bunch of strangers when your baby is back there and there's nothing you can do. And so that was a hard few days.
I had no idea that it was like that at all.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew a lot of the details, but I didn't know.
That was a scary time, especially when I just read the magazine article, and I'm thinking, boy, I couldn't handle a child born with this,
I mean, how meant to be is that, though?
Oh, absolutely.
And I still have the article that she had at that point, which is kind of cool.
I'm trying to think of some of that was the most difficult beginning time.
Yeah, okay. Other than being a teenager, which you and I both know was hard for both of us. what else? I mean,
okay, so I won't give any more the lengthy details, but that was just the scary beginning. But the hardest things were when you were a baby, knowing when they were going to have to do a spinal tap, and hearing you crying down the hall, and having to and feeling so helpless because there was nothing I could do. And knowing when you were going to have that next surgery, and every time you'd have to be put to sleep, and more surgeries, both of your hips, having surgery on those, the shunt, they had the shunt put in. That was, I guess, after your back closure, you had the shunt put in when you were like 5 days old.
Well, okay, so what advice would you give somebody that's dealing with just the hospital aspect of that? Is there anything that helped you in that moment,
Well,
either at the hospital or coming home from the hospital or anything like that?
I have to say, as time went on, I learned to be a better advocate for you and ask questions, because they're not always right. And, you and I both know that as you got older, there were some mistakes that were made that caused extra hospital visits and, things that...
Backtracks.
And so you had to just, if there's something questionable, you ask, and if you can do research. I mean, now I'm all about medical research, and you've got to be your own advocate and advocate for your loved ones, because nobody is 100% right. I sure wouldn't want to be in the medical field, because I make mistakes too, and they make mistakes too. So you have to ask questions when something doesn't seem right. You have to ask and be persistent sometimes.
And a lot of you all that followed me in the last year in particular, that I've gone through that with other medical issues, and so that's part of why I push for get second and third opinions if you can. It's okay to listen to that little voice sometimes, because sometimes there's a reason for it. But I just think it's really cool that you came across that article when you did. I mean, I know that I keep going back to that, but it was just, every time I come across it, it gives me chills every single time.
That was your first meant to be thing.
Very much so.
Yeah. Because I think that kind of prepared me. That was a God thing, in my opinion. That prepared me. And the road wasn't easy. As you've grown up, people would say to me, oh, you did such a great job of raising Lindsay. And I always tell them, I just let you be who you were meant to be.
That's something that I've tried to share with parents, through my channel and everything, is sometimes you just have to let them fall or fail and let them figure it out, because ultimately they're the ones going through it every day after a certain point, and you're not going to be around forever. And you did the right thing when you did that. You brought me to people that have been through it, and you were led to people that have been through it or were experiencing similar things. I think that just having community personally is a huge part of that. So
yeah, that was a turning point for you as a teenager, was finding that the Able Youth Wheelchair Sports
do you think it helped
program.
you?
Well, it definitely did. It helped me let go even more. It helped me find people that would provide you with the resources that I couldn't provide you with. Because how many more things did you get to do and learn that I wouldn't have been able to teach you? I mean, I could kind of sort of teach you how to drive, but we had to have those resources to adapt the car, and people to help teach you those things that I can't teach you how to drive a car with a spinner knob like they can.
Right, and see, and you know, my whole platform with Miss Wheelchair Tennessee was the importance of resources, and hearing you kind of reiterate that is pretty neat for me, because that was a huge thing, and you don't realize how the little things start to become the big things all of a sudden. And now I'm an adult watching the little kids in the same program grow up, and it affects you lifelong, whether you realize it in the moment. You know, with Able Youth, for you all that maybe don't know what that is, it's an adaptive sports program, but they also focus on independence. It's focused for manual wheelchair users in the Middle Tennessee area, under the age of, I believe, 21 or 22 now, but they've kind of expanded into young adult life skill transitions and things like that. But that program was the biggest resource that I could have ever have had. You know, I tell the former director all the time that I am who I am because of her and that program.
That program, I give it more credit than me. I absolutely do.
But you got me there.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
and
thank goodness somebody at Vanderbilt told me about it, because it could have been a whole lot different. I mean, it gave you an immense amount of confidence and ability, and you've been able to pass that on to other people too. Yeah. And even going back, I get tears in my eyes looking at the Able Youth webpage and seeing, you know, kids that were younger than you, and their, you know, beards and you know, they're
college,
and it just makes me feel so proud to have that opportunity.
Me too.
For you. And,
me too. I mean,
so I don't know where we would be without it. So thank goodness for it.
I wouldn't be who I am without. I mean, really, it changed so much in my life in so many ways. Do you have any advice, especially for, so I come across a lot of young adults trying to transition from, you know, living at home to being independent. That's a very, very common thing that I come across. And a lot of people, even into their early 20s, specifically with spina bifida, really struggle with that. And so I was very, very lucky that I wanted to kind of be on my own pretty early. I was ready for that transition, but not everybody is. Do you have any advice on either helping the parents or the kids, or I mean, either, honestly?
I guess more to the parents, that you have to let go. And you know, Lindsay said it directly to the parents: you're not going to be around forever. You're doing your children a disservice if you don't encourage them, find avenues for them to help them be independent. Because, you know, even though they might not like it at first, it will totally be worth it for both of you. And you just got to find ways to help them help themselves and get on out there in the world and be adults.
I mean, adulting's not fun, no matter what, I feel like. But I did have a sense of, I've got this by the time I finally got there. And I had a learning curve still. I still feel like there are times I have a learning curve on coming across some new obstacle. But I know now that there are resources out there. And I really think that just raising awareness for that, you know, is a huge part of why I wanted to start this channel, is because I get to share what that program gave to me with other people through this. And, you know, I've experienced a lot of really scared parents just in my time as Miss Wheelchair Tennessee. And I had this weird moment of, I saw the fear in the eyes of these parents and I just went, that's what she went through. And I knew it, but to see it in the moment with these parents was a totally different experience for me. And it really, I think, pushed me even more to keep, putting out, adaptive videos or advice videos or whatever. And I know you offer a completely different perspective when it comes to this, because it wasn't always easy for either of us.
No, it wasn't.
So,
there were a lot of tears, a lot of arguments.
lots of slam doors.
Yeah, lots of slam doors.
Eye rolls that she didn't see.
Oh yes, I did.
Moms always know.
That's right.
But no, I don't know. I appreciate everything that you did for me, and I want more people to have that, and I think that it's really important, like you said, for parents to just let their kids learn life and figure it out, and it's okay to go through trial and error. I think it's part of life for anybody. It just looks a little bit different when you're dealing with disability. I don't know. I just wanted to give you a chance to share some of this, because I think you offer a perspective that I think people need to hear, and they just need to be reminded. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up, and I just want to make it better, that we kind of forget that a quick fix isn't always the appropriate long-term solution or the best solution. And so I don't know, I mean, do you have anything else to share about that, or really anything else?
And we might be backtracking a little bit on this, but you asked me one time, because we had heard about the in vitro surgeries for, now if your child is going to be born with a birth defect with spina bifida. And I'm glad I didn't know then, but if I had of, and I had the opportunity, I would have wanted to take advantage of those in vitro surgeries, because I thought that they might give you a better quality of life. And you always question that. And well, if it could prevent a surgery, a future surgery, that was important to me. The less surgeries that you had to undergo, the better. But I see your point about it too, and I know you've always said that the world will be a boring place if we all were exactly the same. And
and I get, the older I get, the more I see the purpose in all of it, and it becomes more and more full circle. And so I don't know that I would have the perspective that I have as an adult now if I didn't go through some of the surgeries and the struggles, and even especially the teenage years of, I still remember how much of a struggle that was for us. And yeah, I would have liked to have avoided some of it, obviously, sometimes, but
that was part of it. And those young adults out there, you need to take care of your health, because that's very important. And Lindsay can tell you that now.
Yeah, in hindsight, I was wrapped up in the distraction that it would create to go and stop and go take care of this or that or the other. But if I could go back and do that a little bit differently earlier on, I definitely would have. And I really think that, again, Able Youth helped me, because they would have those types of conversations and remind you over and over of how important that was. But it wasn't really until, probably honestly, until my thyroid cancer stuff that came up before I went, okay, this is for real. I have to. But I was already at that point trying to be more proactive and schedule appointments on my own and things like that, which I think was a hard thing for us with that transition of, I was ready to start kind of taking over my own medical care, and I wanted that independence, but I was a little afraid of it. And I think that that's a big thing for people with disabilities sometimes, is they just get so wrapped up in the fear that that alone paralyzes them, and it's a mindset, and more about the mindset, not the physical disability itself anymore. So with you never really told me, no, don't do that. Sometimes you said, no, that's not a good idea. But as far as, my goals in life and things like that, you didn't prevent me from that. And so that's...
No, and you've been successful all the way through.
Well, I eventually found my path, is what it was. And I am just stubborn enough that I just didn't care what anybody thought about it anymore, kind of. Because I knew that I was on the right path, and I felt that I was on the right path. But it took a lot of me figuring it out on my own to get there too, and having being given the confidence through the programs to know that I can be an independent adult. I can handle this. I have the ability to do it. I don't need my parent to do all of this for me. There's no reason to put that pressure on her as a young adult. And we eventually got there, I think. Now I'm more like, hey, here's the update. I'll be here on this date, and it took a while, but I think we got there. So I don't know, any other advice you want to give, or anything else you want to I know there's so much we could talk about it.
I can't think of much in the way of advice other than, well, I'll say that for the parents, you can do this, you'll get through it. And for the children and the young adults, same thing. You'll get through this, Yeah. And I guess I just want to tell you how proud I am of you and everything that you've accomplished and continue to accomplish in your life and your married life to my favorite son-in-law, Wes.
Her only son-in-law, by the way.
Well, you didn't have to say that, but I'm very proud of both of you and how independent you are and everything that you all do as a couple. And did I say you were inspirational? Because I know
no, please don't.
Well, you still are. So just proud of everything that you've done with your life so far. I'm just looking forward to whatever's next.
I have no idea.
Successful, whatever it is, I'm sure.
I have no idea, but that's kind of the fun of it. Is I know that I'm on the right path, and I have the confidence to follow my path for me. And so, anyway, I really just wanted to give you a chance to share your wisdom,
I don't think I helped a whole lot.
No, you did. And I think that parents just sometimes need to be reminded the best thing they can do is sometimes step back. And it's hard. And I know that it's hard because you just want to make everything better. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the right then and there and the immediate issue and the immediate need. But sometimes you have to really just look at the bigger picture, and I think lots of prayers involved on both sides of it sometimes.
Absolutely. And let go a little bit.
Or let go a lot sometimes. Anyway, all right, you guys. Well, I think that's it for now. I don't know if we'll do something like this later on. We'll see. We've been talking about doing a video like this for a while, and she was in town this weekend. So, I guess that's it. Thank you.